Tell me about Palantir. You've often said that it's the best investment you can think of at this point. It took a bit of a dip yesterday, I believe. Are you buying more now?
Yeah, you know, for my clients that don't own it, I would definitely buy more now. And then, you know, if it were to get down in the 60s, I will buy more. If it go in the 50s, I will buy more. Look, when you're talking about artificial intelligence, you're seeing companies put together these large language models. And so you're getting all these NVIDIA GPUs and you're putting together these big computers. That's like building this massive V12 engine for a sports car. And without software, it's like having that engine without a vehicle. And without Palantir, it's like having no driver and no vehicle. So you have to have it to make these large language models work. Otherwise, they're just science experiments.
You say that it's software's turn in this AI bull market. Okay, so which software stocks do you like? We've got a bunch on the screen. You like them all?
Yeah, so you know, historically, when you know, you see a new technology phase, you have to build the infrastructure, which is what we've seen for the last, call it 2 years, and now it's software's turn. Palantir, I think, was the first iteration of that. You know, ServiceNow, Ticker Now, similar to Palantir and some of the things they do. They're like the air traffic control tower for a company's data and for a company's AI projects. They're a spectacular company. I'd say that's my number 2. And then when you start looking at CrowdStrike, Palo Alto, Salesforce, if you think about the capabilities of AI in the cybersecurity space, it's just spectacular. So now, you know, this is the long-term trend of technology. Again, you build the infrastructure, then you move to software. I believe 2025 is going to be the year of software as it goes with the AI trade.
I find that what people, when you talk about inflation, what you tend to think is the highest multiple stocks, Rule of 40 stocks, the enterprise software stocks are going to get hit, and they were all clipped yesterday. I think they'll try to make a comeback and be thrown back for losses. They just don't have it. Now, some stocks, like Palantir, when you go into Palantir between, say, 3 and 5 a.m., there's people that, this now overnight market, it's just people walking a stock up. It's fun to watch. Manipulation is always
at whatever it was, 3:30 this morning.
Yeah, I mean, now manipulation is okay, because especially now that Gensler's leaving. I mean, Gensler cared, Mr. Fireplace. He did care about things like this, but those are all now passé. So people walk up Palantir. They're trying to walk up a bunch of stocks, but Carl, they don't have the horses. It takes big money to keep these enterprise software. They're just so darn rich. And the MongoDB collapse, 100 points yesterday, really took my breath away.
Yeah,
100 points peak.
We had him on yesterday in the 11. I mean, the argument was that this CFO, COO transition was part of that story. It's also had a huge run this year.
Michael Gordon. I mean, I'm finding out one of the things that is so hypocritical about the analysts is that they were all very bullish on the conference call, and then we find out that this one person who'd been there for 10 years is so important. I beg to differ. That was just a sign that this group is in purgatory, because you don't buy these stocks when we're in an inflationary mode, because their multiples, David, are just too high.
Why have you fallen out of love with NVIDIA?
So we haven't fallen out of love with NVIDIA. We still love NVIDIA, but our one concern is its recent price action. I would argue that NVIDIA is going to dictate whether or not we have a Santa Claus rally or not. It is still one of our largest holdings, but it's broken the 50-day. Now, we do think that it will ultimately break back through and get to new highs as we go into January. But if NVIDIA breaks, it will take the rest of the market down with it. That's one of the problems when you have a name that's so highly concentrated and highly owned. But right now, we would be buying this dip in NVIDIA, but being a very short leash if it does continue weakness. But you can't have NVIDIA not rally and have the market rally. That, in our opinion, I don't think that's going to happen.
Okay, looking at the movers, let's start with NVIDIA.
Some news out of the Supreme Court on NVIDIA. So NVIDIA was sued by shareholders for misrepresenting their reliance on cryptocurrency mining. NVIDIA appealed that. The Supreme Court today, in a one-sentence opinion, said the case should not have been taken up, but the practical effect of that decision and their wording means it can proceed.
That's a little complicated, isn't it?
You think?
I do. And NVIDIA's up. Okay.
Let's get to Eamon Javers with some breaking news on NVIDIA. Hey, Eamon.
Hey there, Carl. We had a Supreme Court decision this morning on NVIDIA. Now, the Supreme Court is saying it's not going to take up a case involving a shareholder lawsuit against NVIDIA. They say that was improvidently granted initially by the Supreme Court, meaning basically, oops, we're sorry, we shouldn't have taken up this case in the first place. So what that means is that the lower court ruling involving NVIDIA will stand. The lower court allowed a shareholder lawsuit against NVIDIA to proceed. So presumably that will now proceed apace. All of this is about an initial shareholder lawsuit against NVIDIA, suggesting that NVIDIA did not properly disclose how much exposure it had to crypto mining as opposed to gaming in terms of use of its chips. The idea here is that crypto mining is a much more volatile segment than gaming, and if they didn't disclose properly how much people were using chips for crypto mining, that might have given investors a bad feel for how volatile potentially the earnings would be back in 2018. So this case now suggesting that that lawsuit can go forward also has some impact potentially for other publicly traded companies that are deciding how much nuance to share in their disclosures as they file with the SEC. How much detail and sort of investor insight do they need to provide on the mix of customers they have, the volatility of that customer base, all of that. So this will give people across corporate America something to think about here, and it gives a potentially new risk to NVIDIA that they might have to settle this shareholder lawsuit at some point down the road, guys. We've reached out to NVIDIA. We'll bring you their comment as soon as we have it.
Okay, thank you, Eamon. Eamon Javers, NVIDIA joining the big cap tech party that we're seeing going on today. Apple, too, shares hitting all-time highs right now. The tech giant releasing new versions of its iPhone, iPad, and Mac software that include the long-awaited ChatGPT integration with Siri. There are also reports that Apple's working on an AI chip with Broadcom. Broadcom shares are rallying big today as well.
You know, it's funny, Rob. I heard a lot of folks say, well, if NVIDIA stumbles or if NVIDIA doesn't do anything, the market as a whole is going to have a problem. Not really. Not really, because that stock hasn't done anything. Certainly not month to date. It's the laggard since the election, and these other stocks have picked up the slack. So maybe those calls were not correct. Does it matter, though, at some point if NVIDIA doesn't work, given the size of the stock? I mean, we're talking about Apple near $4 trillion. So NVIDIA is not even the largest market cap stock in the market anymore. It was for but a hot minute, but that's about it.
Well, you know we own that, Scott. We bought it when it got a little cheap here midway through the summer, and you know, occasionally these names are going to give you opportunities. So getting back to your point, are we buying the Mag 7 or not? I think you got to be selective. And when you look at the Mag 7, you have names like Google, which was a laggard year to date until here recently. But if you just look at the fundamentals of a business like that, its PE's trading at 20 times, right in line with its history. It's the cheapest of all its Mag 7 peers. Profitability is among the highest, 2 times the sector average that it competes in. High capital efficiency, 3 times the sector average. And they're starting to see a return on AI. So while we own all these, it's the when matters of how you buy them.
I'll keep it as simple as turn. Today, NVIDIA is a multi-trillion-dollar firm. It's really hard to make a $4 trillion firm become an $8 trillion firm.
Right.
You have to get wallet share everywhere.
Right.
So this expectation that they continue to grow is nuts. Now, they're good companies and they earn money. And that's my point is, you want to sell when people are this greedy. You showed fear and greed. It's dialing back. Why? Because it's kind of going back to normal. This is your chance to take some money and go where valuations are better. I'm not suggesting your whole portfolio, but go in with 5 or 10% in the small caps because that's where your better opportunity is.
Outgoing Justice Department was looking deep into NVIDIA to see if it was engaged in monopolistic practices. Were they abusing the power to determine who gets the latest and greatest chips? I think the incoming Justice Department will come as close as possible to congratulating them for being the best in the world, allowing NVIDIA to continue its winning streak. By the way, the stock's up 557,140% since it came public in 1999.
Please leave a like on this video so more people will see it. And while you're down there, please consider subscribing. It's free, and you can always change your mind. Thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video.